Coach, before we let you go, I want to get your take on this. Giants head coach Joe Judge made headlines this week when he had his team do push-ups and run laps following a brawl in training camp. Now, across town, Jets rookie head coach Robert Saleh was asked about those type of disciplinary tactics. Listen to what he had to say, then I'll ask you about it.
There's many ways to do it. There are many ways to do it. For me, you know, it's more of accountability. Try to create accountability with self rather than forcing accountability. These players are grown men, and that to give them the opportunity to correct it themselves will always happen first. Obviously, there's going to be coaching. You know, they're not trying to make the mistake. All we can do is help them understand how the mistake was made, so they don't do it again.
Oh, that's a slightly different approach, Coach. This is this is your what? Go ahead.
I wish I could have been so zen as a rookie head coach, and I wish I could have taken that perspective. But here's the thing: is you want to be able to regulate self, and you want to promote that. But when your failure to regulate self affects 100 people and loses games, suddenly regulating self isn't as attractive as it is right now. And when a guy misses a practice or comes in late or whatever the different things that come up are, it's great to take that approach until suddenly you have to change that approach, and guys are saying, hold on a second, this is not who you said you are. And there's a lot of head coaches who go through that, where they may start in a sort of softer tone and then try to get hard, and the players are like, yeah, we're not doing that. That's not who you said you are.
Coach, gosh.
It's not
old school. And I love it. But I love it. Listen, but I love it. I personally thrive in that environment. But Coach, when you just look at leadership, I do hear what Coach is saying, and I kind of agree with him. Accountability, to me, just start with the top. Like if you're going to do that, if you're going to be a coach that force guys to run, if you jumped off sides, you got a pre-snap penalty, go take a lap. Coaches too. If you're going to do that, then I need to see you do that, because you'll gain all the respect in that locker room, everyone in the building. But I haven't seen those guys that take that approach do it, right? Well, you can make a grown man, a coach, or a player take a lap when they mess up, but when you made a bad call, or if you brought in the wrong player and that hurt the 100 people in the organization, why aren't you standing in front of the team saying, guys, that's on me? Why aren't you running those laps? So I think that resonates well with guys in the locker room when times get hard and get sticky and you open up the season maybe 2-6 because you're trying to turn this organization around. Guys will tend to follow you because they see you lead by example. But when you come in and try to rule with an iron fist and then you're sitting there at 2-6, guys, grown men are like, man, I ain't talking to him no more. And that's why we see some of these young coaches that take this approach flame out fast, because they lose the respect of the locker room.
Well, what Joe is trying to convey, and what we all know, is when someone gets a penalty in a game, he's not penalized individually. He's the group is collectively penalized, and that's the reality of it. And pre-snap penalties are completely under your control, and then they relate back to concentration. And so you're trying to reinforce the fact that the mistakes that you make, they affect all of us, and everybody is held accountable ultimately, Brandon. And you may be held accountable. Maybe it's not a lap. Maybe it's a trip to a new location, like a new job. Like, we're all held accountable.
So are you okay? Are you okay with Coach Joe? Like, let's say Coach Joe made a mistake, right, where he just he put the practice together a little too long, and the guy got hurt, and he said, "Hey guys, it's on me. I'm gonna run a lap tomorrow." Are you okay with that? Should Coach Joe do something like that?
I think it's very important as a leader and as a coach to, when you make a mistake, to owning up to it, and when you make a bad call, to owning up to it and being accountable for it, and not only being accountable for it in front of the team, but being accountable for it in front of the media and the fans, so that everybody knows this was my fault, and not put that on the players. And I think that's where you can garner a lot of respect is when things do go wrong and you do make those dumb calls and you do make that dumb situational decision or time management decision, you own up to it. You own up to it in front of the guys and you own up to it in front of everybody else, and you commit to doing it better.
Brandon, my question to you is this. Is there a chance that both of these philosophies, Joe Judge making people do push-ups and laps, and Saleh's sort of individual accountability feels like more Zen approach, is there a chance that they just both work and it just depends on if you're in the environment that is going to work? Because I've had a lot of jobs and I like to think that I'm motivated by personal accountability, but I've also been lit up and I'm like, hey, you know what? Good job, lighten me up there. I won't make that mistake again. Because what we're seeing out of the Giants organization is zero pushback. In fact, it's going the other way. Sterling Shepard had a quote the other day. It's like, yeah, that's the way we run things around here. And if you don't like it, you're out. So I'll make it personal for you.
That's right.
If you had the choice, and you literally have had the choice between going and playing for the Jets or the Giants, although you do have the Jets helmet ready to go, put that aside, literally and figuratively. Which coach do you think you would thrive under? Sort of like the Zen approach or Joe Judge, like you know, lap it up. Lap it up, Brandon Marshall. Lap it up. Yep. Drop the ball. Lap it up.
Right. Well, first, both work, Wilds. Absolutely, they both work. And I had both. I had Josh McDaniels when he left Bill Belichick in New England, and he came to Denver, and he had that same approach. And I had Coach Todd Bowles, and I saw how that worked, right? Good and bad. And that was the same in Denver. Here's the deal. I took the same approach that Sterling took. Yeah, this is what we're doing. This is a trickle-down effect. Whatever the coach is saying, I'm going to echo that in the locker room because I want to win. I trust in you. But what I've seen, and I saw this with Coach McDaniels, we started off 6-0, and then all of a sudden, the last stretch of the season, the second half of the season, now we can barely find a win. And guys in the locker room start chirping. So it works right now, but when you start losing, and it gets tough, and it will, that's when the problem kicks in. And that's when, if you're one of those coaches, and if you actually run with them, you'll get through that moment. But I didn't see Josh McDaniels. I didn't see Matt Patricia actually run those laps with those coaches. They're sitting back, and they're like, oh, now everybody go run. Coaches go run. They're cursing out coaches that's 20, 30 years older than them. They're cursing out players that make more money than them and been in the league and is more established, but they're not doing the same thing for themselves. So that's where it gets tough, when those moments hit, and they will hit, and those guys in the locker room turn against them.
And what Saleh has going for him is, oh, go ahead, Coach. I apologize. Go ahead, Coach.
I'm just saying that Coach, the flip side of that is you've got those guys that start off, you know, with a much softer touch, and then things go south, and then they try to get hard, and the players see that too, and they're like, that's not right. And I can promise you, Brandon, anything that you took as a player, when we went in as coaches and sat in that meeting with Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, I promise you, it was more painful than a lap around the track.
Yeah, but Coach, we didn't. But Coach, here's the thing, though.
But you didn't see it. Brandon's saying you didn't see it. Right. Brandon's point is, but the players didn't see it, so they didn't know the accountability. Or maybe they did in New England. Maybe they did in New England. But what Saleh's going for is this. Brandon's talking about, if you start 2-6, it might not work. You start 2-6 with the Jets, they give you a parade. So I think